I'm Jake, and any lingering questions about my place in the family vanished the moment I stumbled across the will. It wasn't some grand, formal announcement where my parents sat me down to break the news. No, I found out completely by chance, through sheer dumb luck. A few months back, I was at their place, the same house I'd been helping keep afloat for the last 5 years. The mortgage payments, the occasional grocery hauls, the endless repairs. I was the one holding it together. Meanwhile, my brother Eric contributed exactly nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. No job, no responsibilities, just coasting through life, expecting everything to be handed to him on a silver platter. Apparently, my parents were more than happy to oblige. That day, I was helping my dad sort through some paperwork because, as usual, neither he nor Mom could be bothered to deal with it themselves. He'd asked me to skin a pile of legal and financial documents, and I didn't think much of it until I spotted it. A folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament tucked into the stack. I'm not one to pry, but curiosity got the better of me. After all, I'd been the one ensuring they had a roof over their heads. Was it so wrong to wonder how things were arranged for the future? So I opened it, and that's when my stomach sank. Everything, everything asterisk, was going to Eric. The house, their savings, their assets. Not a single mention of me, except for some hollow words about loving both their sons equally. Equal, right? That's why they decided their golden child would get all, while the son keeping them afloat didn't even warrant a mention. I felt like an idiot. Here I was, bending over backwards to make sure their bills were paid, their fridge was stocked, their house was fixed, while they were busy planning a future where I got nothing. Eric wasn't just lazy, he was entitled. He never lifted a finger to help, never chipped in a cent. Yet somehow he convinced them he deserved everything. Maybe because he was a younger son. Maybe because they'd always coddled him. Maybe because he knew exactly how to play them. Whatever the reason, they'd made their choice clear. I sat there, hands trembling with a mix of anger and betrayal, staring at the document. How long had they been planning this? Was I always just their financial fallback, expected to give everything and get nothing in return? Did they even value what I'd done for them? I don't know how long I was frozen there, but eventually my dad noticed I'd stopped scanning. "Jake, what's taking so long?" he asked, strolling back into the room. I didn't bother hiding the will. I held it up and locked eyes with him. "So this is how it is?" I said, my voice eerily steady. "Everything to Eric, after all I've done for you?" His face paled for a moment, but then he let out a sigh, like I was some kid throwing a fit. "Jake, it's not what you think," he said. Really, I shot back, because it seemed pretty damn clear to me. I'd been paying their mortgage, buying their groceries, fixing their house, while Eric did nothing and they still chose him. Dad looked uneasy but offered no real explanation, just mumbled, "It's complicated." That was it. No apology, no attempt to justify beyond those two pathetic words. Just a look like he expected me to let it go and keep playing their personal bank. I should have stormed out right then, but I needed to hear from both of them. I called for my mom. When she saw the will in my hands, she at least had the decency to look ashamed, but her words made my blood boil. "Jake, honey, you don't need the inheritance," she said softly, like she was doing me a favor. "You've got a good job, you're independent. Eric, he struggles. We just want to make sure he's okay." That was the moment something in me broke. They weren't clueless. They knew exactly what they were doing. In their minds, it was perfectly fair. They'd spent years enabling Eric's laziness, and now they were rewarding it by giving him everything, while I was cast aside like an afterthought. I took a deep breath, clenched my jaw, and set the will down on the table. "Got it," I said, my voice chillingly calm. "Good to know where I stand." Then I turned and left, ignoring their protests as I slammed the door behind me. They'd made their decision, and now it was time for me to make mine. I didn't go back to their house after that. I didn't call. I didn't check in. For the first time in years, I let them deal with their own problems. If something needed fixing, they could figure it out. If they needed groceries, they could get to the store themselves. And if the mortgage bill came, well, I wasn't paying anymore. The silence lasted about 2 weeks. At first, I think they thought I was just sulking and would come crawling back. Like always, maybe they expected me to cool off and apologize for daring to question them. But as the days passed with no word from me, and more importantly, no money, they started to feel the shift. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Property taxes are due. That was it. No, hey, how are you? No, sorry for what happened. No, we appreciate everything you've done. Just a cold, transactional demand, like I was still their go-to-money machine. I stared at the screen, almost amused by how predictable they were. They really thought they could just ask for cash like nothing had happened, like I keep playing my role as their safety net after they made it clear I was expendable. I typed back, I'm sure Eric's got it, since the house is his. It took exactly 5 minutes for Mom to call. I let it ring. Then another text. Jake, please don't be like this. We need to talk. Now, they wanted to talk, now that their bills were piling up and reality was hitting them hard. I waited an hour before responding. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Live with it. I thought that would be it for the day. I'd been crystal clear, and I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. But then Eric decided to weigh in. His text came late that evening. And the second I saw his name, I knew it was going to be infuriating. Sure enough, it was pure entitlement. Dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them out like you always do. I nearly laughed. Not a big deal? He was acting like I had no right to be upset. I typed back, No, I think you've got this, since you're the favorite. His reply was instant. OMG, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, man. It's just money. Just money. Now that it was just to inherit, it suddenly didn't matter. The hypocrisy was unreal. I shot back. Then you won't mind using some of that money to pay the mortgage, right? Silence. A few minutes later, Mom texted again, this time in full guilt trip mode. Jake, we're your parents. Family takes care of each other. We did so much for you growing up, and now you're abandoning us. I had to take a deep breath to keep from hurling my phone across the room. Abandoning them? I'd spent years making sure they never struggled, while they babed Eric and rewarded his laziness. Now that they had to face the consequences of their choices, I was a villain? I wasn't falling for it. I responded, You made it clear I wasn't family when you left me out of the will. Eric can take care of you now. I could picture Mom gasping dramatically. She always had a knack for playing the victim, even when she was in the wrong. Minutes later, Dad texted again, and this one pushed me over the edge. We're not asking for much, just enough for the mortgage for a few months until we sort things out. Don't be selfish. Selfish? The word made my blood boil. I'd been bailing them out for years, sacrificing my own time, money, and energy to make their lives easier. I'd done everything a good son should, and they repaid me by ensuring I got nothing. Now, when I finally stood up for myself, I was selfish. I clenched my jaw, took a deep breath, and typed, No, I'm done. Then I turned off my phone. They'd made their choice, and now they'd have to deal with it. The silence lasted a day. I knew they wouldn't give up easily, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. The following morning, I woke to a notification. A bank transfer request from Mom for $3,500. I stared at it, half laughing at the audacity. No message, no explanation, just a shameless demand for the exact amount of their overdue mortgage. They weren't even asking anymore. They just assumed I'd cave. I declined it without a second thought. Not 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. I let it ring. Then another text. Jake, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it? I took my time before replying, because it's not my responsibility. Ask Eric. Another call. Declined. Then another text. We're going to lose the house if you don't help. Now it was an emergency, after years of treating me like their personal ATM. I typed back, maybe you should have thought of that before deciding I didn't matter. Seconds later, Dad chimed in. You're really going to let your parents become homeless? That one made me laugh out loud. The manipulation was so obvious, it was almost comical. They weren't destitute. They just didn't want to touch their savings because they were so used to me covering everything. I ignored them for the rest of the day. That night, Eric texted again. Dude, just send the money. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. I clenched my jaw. This entitled brat really thought he could lecture me. I typed, "You mean the money you're inheriting? Why don't you send it?" His response was quick. "You know I don't have that kind of cash right now." Oh, so now it was about affordability. He was fine with me draining my accounts. But when it was his turn, he suddenly had nothing. I replied, "Guess you better figure out then, bro. You're the one they chose." No response. I went to bed feeling strangely calm, like I'd finally broken free from years of manipulation. But the next day, things escalated. I was at work when my apartment's front desk called. "Hey, Jake, your parents are here." I nearly dropped my phone. "What?" The receptionist hesitated. "They're saying it's an emergency and that you won't answer their calls." Unbelievable. They showed up at my apartment just because I stopped paying their bills. I let out a heavy sigh, rubbing the bridge of my nose. "Please, don't let them up." "I'm not expecting them," I told the front desk. There was a hesitant pause before the receptionist replied. "They're being pretty insistent." My jaw tightened. "I don't care. They can leave." I ended the call, and almost instantly, my phone pinged with a text from Mom. "We're downstairs. Open the door." No greeting, no explanation, just another demand. I didn't respond. Another message followed. "Jake, we're not going anywhere until you talk to us." I exhaled sharply, pushing away from my desk. They weren't giving up. Fine. I'd show them this wasn't going to work. Grabbing my keys, I stormed downstairs, my anger simmering. I wasn't nervous. I was livid. The nerve of them, showing up uninvited at my home, expecting me to hand over money like I was their personal cash machine. No call, no half-hearted apology, just a blatant ambush. They really thought they could bully me into submission, like I was still some gullible kid. I flung the door open, and there they stood, Mom, Dad, and, naturally, Eric, huddled together like they were staging some kind of family intervention. Mom had her arms crossed, her signature disappointed mother looked ready to fire. Dad stood rigid, hands shoved in his pockets, his face a mix of irritation and entitlement, as if he couldn't believe I was making him deal with this in person. And Eric, the freeloader, had the audacity to look bored, like this whole mess was just a minor inconvenience to him, not the root problem. The second Mom saw me, she launched into her theatrics. "Jake, thank goodness. We need to talk." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, my voice steady but sharp. "No, you need to leave." She blinked, like my words didn't compute. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," I said, calm but unyielding. "You don't get to show up at my apartment demanding money. That's ridiculous." Dad let out a sharp huff. "Are you seriously going to let us lose the house over some childish grudge?" I gave a bitter laugh. "Childish grudge? You mean the one where you decided I was good enough to cover your bills, but not good enough to be in your will? That grudge." Mom gasped, clutching her chest like I'd wounded her. "Jake, that's not fair. We did what we thought was best for the family." I tilted my head, my tone dripping with sarcasm. "Best for the family? You mean best for Eric. Just admit it." Silence. A heavy, uncomfortable silence. Eric, who'd been oddly quiet, finally piped up. "Look, man, I don't even want to be part of this. I didn't ask for anything." I turned on him, my frustration boiling over. "Oh, you just take everything that's handed to you. You're 28, Eric. Get a job." His face flushed. "Dude, what the hell?" I stepped closer. "You heard me. You want to inherit the house? Act like a homeowner. You want to be the golden child? Start paying their bills. I'm done being your bank." Eric looked away, suddenly fascinated by the sidewalk. Mom took a deep breath, switching to her guilt trip mode. "Jake, he's your brother." I nodded. "Yeah, and I've supported him longer than you ever have." Dad's expression hardened. "You're being selfish." I let out a genuine laugh. "Selfish? That's rich coming from you." I gesture between them. You two decided Eric gets everything, and I get nothing. Now that it's time to face the consequences, you're trying to guilt me into fixing it. Not happening. Mom's voice sharpened. We thought you'd be mature about this. I raise an eyebrow. Mature? You mean quietly accept that you betrayed me and keep paying your bills? Because that's what you wanted, right? Dad stepped forward, trying to intimidate me like he did when I was a kid. Jake, we raised you. We fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now. I met his gaze, unflinching. I already did. For years. And you repaid me by cutting me out. Mom's lip quivered. We thought you'd understand. I shook my head, exhaling. Oh, I understand perfectly. I was never family to you, just a paycheck. Another suffocating silence. I turned to Eric, who was still avoiding eye contact. And you? What's your excuse? You've had years to get your act together, to contribute. But you didn't, because you knew they'd bail you out. And when they're gone, you expected me to step in, didn't you? Eric snapped. What do you want me to say, man? I didn't ask for this. I nodded slowly. Right. You didn't ask. You just took. His mouth opened, then closed. He had nothing. Mom tried one last guilt trip. Jake, we're family. Family takes care of each other. I stared at her for a long moment before responding, Exactly. So why didn't you take care of me? She froze, speechless, no comeback. I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in years. We're done here. I turned, walked back inside, and shut the door. Before I even reached my couch, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Wow, after everything we've done for you, you're really abandoning us? I smirked, typing back, No, you abandoned me. I'm just accepting it. I hit send, then blocked their numbers. But blocking them only made things worse. Less than a day later, I started noticing posts on Facebook. My parents weren't tech savvy, but they knew how to vent online when they felt righteous. At first, I thought it was just their usual drama, airing family issues for all to see. But as I scrolled through their posts, I realized this wasn't just about me not helping with bills anymore. Their posts were cloaked in family love, but were clearly aimed at me. Mom wrote something about not raising her son to be selfish and how real family helps no matter what. Her friends chimed in, calling me a disappointment, out of touch with what matters. Then Dad posted, So-called families shouldn't turn their back when you need them most. We gave everything to our kids, and this is how we're repaid. My son, who should be supporting us in our golden years, has chosen to abandon us. He tagged me, adding a passive-aggressive, hope you're happy at the end. But Eric's post was the worst. I should have known he'd joined the drama. He shared a post dripping with lies. Some people think family is just about money. They don't get that it's about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people are too caught up in themselves to see that true love means helping those who raised you. He even threw in a veiled jab. I wish some people could learn what family really means. I love my parents and am grateful for everything they've done. That was it, my breaking point. I stared at the screen, stunned. How had it come to this? They twisted everything, painting me as the selfish son who didn't appreciate their love, when I'd been the one working, contributing, never complaining. They convinced themselves they were right, and were now broadcasting to the world, making me the villain. I didn't want to react rashly. I stepped back, gathered my thoughts, and waited a few hours to cool off. But the more I thought, the clearer it became. I couldn't let them get away with this. If they were going to drag my name through the mud, I'd set the record straight. So I opened my phone and started typing. I logged into my Facebook account, the one I use for close friends and real family, and posted a long update. I wasn't here to play their petty games or get sucked into a back and forth. I just wanted the truth out there. This is what I wrote. I've been silent the last few days, but I can't stay quiet anymore. My family has been posting things about me online that are simply untrue, painting me as the selfish villain who won't help my parents in their time of need. I'm here to tell the truth. I've always supported my family. Since I got my first job, I've been the one paying bills, buying groceries, and helping however I could. But there's a limit to how much you can give without respect. Over the years, I've watched my parents favor Eric, giving him everything, the house, the money, the attention, while I was expected to keep giving without ever being seen as equal. Some of you might think, that's just how family works. But family should go both ways. When I learned my parents left everything to Eric in their will, I saw how one-sided this relationship was. They didn't even consider me. Not for a second. They've made it clear I'm just the one they rely on when things get tough, but never the one they actually want around unless it suits them. For years, I've funded their lifestyle, vacations, bills, even property taxes. And for what? To be treated like a backup plan. I'm done. I'm not just a wallet they can dip into whenever they need cash. I'm a person, and I deserve respect. I've earned the right to be valued, not just used when it's convenient. As for Eric, it's time for him to grow up. He's 28 and has never worked a day in his life, never taken responsibility for anything. My parents have enabled him for so long. It's no surprise he's their favorite. But he's had years to get his life together, and now it's time for him to stand on his own. To everyone following this drama and supporting my parents, know there are two sides to every story. Yes, family matters, but so does mutual respect. I've given enough for a lifetime, and I'm not sorry for stepping back. This isn't me abandoning family. It's me choosing myself. To my parents, I wish you well, but I'm done being your doormat. I hit post, and relief washed over me. For the first time, I was telling the world the